Hey guys, today we're doing something extra special. I've put together all of my favorite Dollar Tree and thrift store Christmas DIYs into one cozy mega video. These projects are inspired by some of the biggest holiday brands: Pottery Barn, Ralph Lauren, Magnolia, Target, Crate & Barrel, just to name a few. But each one was made for just a few dollars. We're talking elegant ornaments, cozy decor, beautiful table settings, and high-end looks that feel straight out of a Nancy Meyers Christmas movie. So grab your coffee, get comfy, and let's dive into these high-end Christmas looks on a Dollar Tree budget. So this DIY inspiration comes from Pottery Barn and Magnolia framed ornaments. I thought they were beautiful and would make such great gifts, but I knew we could do it much cheaper. So I picked up these little 2x3 frames from the Dollar Tree, and then I spotted some plastic ones at Target from their dollar spot for $1. I liked the detail on the frame. And the first thing I'm going to do to improve the way these frames look is to paint them with some black chalk paint and then add some rub and buff, and we'll be halfway there. I also decided to paint one antique white just to see if it would change how it looked. This is a necessary step in order for rub and buff to adhere to plastic. You have to either sand or paint the piece, and I personally feel that chalk paint works the best. I also decided to paint the backs of the frames because I'm giving them as gifts and because you might see them on the tree. Now, when it comes to adding images, you can do so many things. A pressed flower, a memento of a special date or a hobby. For kids, maybe their favorite sport or ballet shoes, or simply add some Christmas images. The possibilities are endless, and they make great gifts for just about anyone. I decided to make one of my son's dog for a stocking stuffer, and my fiance's getting an Ohio State ornament, plus I'm framing a ticket from our very first date. To size the photos just right, I like to use Canva. It makes customizing super easy. And if you like this idea but don't want to make the frame yourself, Amazon has some really beautiful options, and they are much cheaper than Pottery Barn and Magnolia. I'll make sure to link them below. After I painted everything, I did use an X-Acto knife to clear out the openings of the Target frames. I had a feeling that I could have taken off the backs, but I didn't want to force it, so I just kind of painted over it. And on the Dollar Tree frame, I needed to figure out a way to add a ribbon for hanging. So I took an eye hook from one of their picture frame kits that they sell in the hardware section. It was easy. You just start the hole by twisting and wiggling, and then when you have like a little dip, you just start twisting it, and then it goes right in. There's no need to drill a pilot hole. It worked perfectly. Then for the rub and buff, I just love this stuff. I used the color gold leaf, and I'll link it below. And now for the images and the ribbons to hang, and we're done. The project was so simple and gratifying, partly because I made something special for those I love, and also because I saved a lot of money in the process. And here they are, all styled. If you try this one, let me know in the comments. I'd love to know what you'll put inside your frame, and will you keep it for yourself or give them as gifts? The next DIY was inspired by the Pottery Barn curtain wall art, and it retails for $279 and is new this year at Pottery Barn. But when I saw it, I knew we could easily recreate it for much less. So my supplies for the holiday curtain by Pottery Barn are coming along. I got this set of logs or branches from Goodwill about 6 months ago before the prices went up there, and I only paid $3.99. I thought that was a great deal. I really needed those too because I live in South Florida and it's just not possible to go out in the yard and get a branch like that. And then I stopped at Hobby Lobby to get the jute cord because we're going to need quite a bit of that. And also Dollar Tree did not have their die cut snowflakes yet, so I picked those up from Hobby Lobby. They were 50% off. They're having such a great sale there. So get over there and get your supplies, because I'll tell you what, they're not going to last long. I think by Thanksgiving, they'll be gone. A lot of it will be gone. And anyway, so the snowflakes were $2.50 each, so $5 for those. I got this gorgeous star. It's metal from Walmart. This was $2.19. The inspiration has the 8-point star, and I didn't really see any of those, so I thought the 5 points would be fine. This came from the thrift store with that big bag of ornaments that I had gotten. Then I've got the bells from Dollar Tree, and I need one more because I just noticed on the inspiration that there are 3 bells. So we're gonna get started with this as soon as I get that 3rd bell, and then we'll start with removing the glitter from the bells and the snowflakes. And real quick, I'm taking 2 of these branches and we'll cut off about 6 inches and use some wood glue, and I'll glue them together. I'm also having to make my version a little shorter because of the wall it's going on. And that's the beauty of DIY. You get to customize to your needs. So now I've got all the tags and embellishments off of everything. I lightly sanded the snowflakes and then quickly realized I was not going to be getting the glitter off the bells. So I spray painted the bells Champagne Gold by Rust-Oleum, which I'll link below, and I actually ended up loving how rustic the bells looked once spray painted. The glitter gave it some great texture. And for the stars, I used the color Cottage White by Behr. I wanted to keep the snowflakes like the inspiration, which is a natural wood color, so I painted them a mixture of khaki and territorial beige by Apple Barrel, and that worked out pretty well. As for the branch, I hot glued the end and just started wrapping it tightly, making sure not to overlap. It went a lot quicker than I anticipated. It only took me about a half hour to wrap the entire thing. At the end, I just hot glued it. Actually, the only hot glue I used was at the beginning and the end. And this part of the project reminded me of that yarn craft we used to do in the 70s. Does anyone remember that? So here's everything so far. Off camera, I added sawtooth hangers to 2 Jenga blocks and then glued them to the branch for easy hanging. And you're going to want it to come away from the wall a bit so everything hangs right. A quick tip, if you use the Dollar Tree bells, sometimes getting the twine through the top has been a struggle, but with some tweezers, it makes it easy to pull through. And now with the colors, I'm pretty happy with how they are looking except for the metal star. So I'm going to quickly give it what I call an antique wash to tone down the color. The inspiration has variations of colors also. So all you do for the wash is take a water-based wax. Today I'm using Folk Art Dark Wax and some water. Brush it on and wipe it off. Super easy, and it does a great job of distressing and toning down the piece. I then wanted to make my Jenga blocks blend in just in case you'd be able to see it on the wall. So I took a mixture of khaki and the dark wax, and that got the color pretty close. And as I was getting everything ready to tie on the branch, I noticed that the inspiration bells were a bit shinier than mine. So with some gold leaf rub and buff, I made mine shinier, and then I was done. I was really surprised how easy this project was. And here's how it looks on my wall. I'm obsessed with how this turned out, and I'm taking it down for now, but I can't wait to make it a part of my Christmas decor this year and for years to come. And the best part, mine only cost around $20. The next DIY is inspired by something I spotted at Hobby Lobby and thought we can do that. It's also a great craft for the kiddos. So you're going to want to start with a jingle bell at least 3 inches in diameter. You can pretty much get them anywhere. Mine came from Dollar Tree, but I've seen them at Hobby Lobby and Walmart. For convenience, I'll link to some on Amazon too. The supplies for this DIY are simple. Besides the jingle bell, you will need black, red, and silver paint, and some baker's twine for hanging, which Dollar Tree sells, or you could use twine or ribbon, or whatever you have. Start with painting your bell red. Mine has glitter on it, and it took 1 coat of paint with a little touch-up afterwards. Once it was dry, we're going to give Santa a belt. You could use even a Sharpie. I decided to freehand with black paint and was not doing a good job until I remembered a tip from years ago. Lay the piece down and let the paintbrush do the work, meaning don't try and manipulate the brush. Let the brush just lay down its footprint. I hope that makes sense, and I was able to capture it on camera, and if you mess up, it's no big deal to touch up. This project is super forgiving. Once the black paint has dried, it's time to give Santa a buckle with some silver paint. Just take your time and paint a square. Again, it's super easy. Then add your baker's twine. I doubled mine up and had to use tweezers to get the twine pulled through. And just like that, the Santa jingle bell is done. I think he turned out so cute, and the kids are going to love him too. He's perfect for the tree, but would also look adorable tied on top of a present or a gift bag with a bow. If you're new here, I always like to include what I call a no DIY DIY. It's something that doesn't require any glue or paint, but still feels creative and special. Today I want to show you a super easy and thoughtful gift you can put together in just a few minutes, and that's gifting Christmas ornaments. It's such a personal idea, and it's actually a trend for this year also. And now's the perfect time to start getting ornaments before everything gets picked over, because you might want to tailor it to the person you're giving it to. And for this one, it's also about the presentation. Think of how high-end stores package their ornaments. You don't even need a fancy box. Any box will do. Just add a little tissue paper and some shreds for padding. Since my box doesn't have a lid, I'm going to be wrapping it in cellophane and finishing it off with a bow, maybe even another ornament on top for an extra festive touch. It's such a simple way to make someone feel thought of, a small gift that feels meaningful, personal, and made with love. And speaking of trends, one that was big last year but is even bigger this year is bows. What I love about this trend is how easy and inexpensive it is to refresh what you already have, just by adding a bow or changing up the color. For example, if most of your decor is gold or green, you can instantly update the look by adding red bows to your ornaments, garland, or wreaths. Dollar Tree also has always had tons of options, and they've really stepped it up over the years. You can even check thrift stores for ribbon or fabric to turn into custom bows. And this brings me to our next DIY. These simple, elegant bow ornaments inspired by the trend and the beautiful ones I've spotted at many high-end stores, and they are super easy to make. All you need is some ribbon. I picked this one up at Hobby Lobby for a half price, so it was $3, and you get 21 feet of velvet ribbon. The spool will make 8 bows, and you will need to grab some small clothespins from the Dollar Tree and some glue. If you're using the same 21 feet of ribbon, you will measure out 31 inches. This gets us the size of the Magnolia bows. If you want ones with longer tails, I would add another 10 to 20 inches. Now, since the ribbon is velvet, it only has one decorative side, so go slow and make sure to twist so that all the good sides are always showing. It can take a couple of tries, but it's not hard to do. Oh, and don't forget, I'm giving away a few of my Christmas DIYs this month. Just make sure you're subscribed and leave a comment below to enter. Now, one last thing, and the one detail I have noticed with all the high-end bows is that they are dovetailed. So before we glue the ribbon to the clothespin, you will fold the ribbon and at an angle, cut where you have folded, and you end up with the most perfect dovetail. Now, I'm using hot glue for purposes of video, but for long-time use of these bows, I think a more permanent glue like E6000 would be better. And just like that, we're done. I think these bows look just like the inspiration, high-end and beautiful, but they only cost about 60 cents each. You can use them to decorate your tree, ornaments, garland, or even dress up a present. They're such a simple project, but they add so much charm, and you don't need to spend a lot to make your home feel festive and special. The antique ornament DIY are inspired by these beautiful Rizzo textured Christmas ornaments by Leanne Ford at Crate & Barrel. I just fell in love with the look of them. So I'm getting ready to do 2 different paint techniques on these bulbs. And I decided to go to the thrift store yesterday, and I was able to find this huge bag of bulbs for $2.99. I was particularly interested in the star. I'm going to use that on a different project, but I also really liked this, I don't even know, this shape bulb. And then I liked the star, and then we're going to use the other ones. We're going to do this technique, like I said, that I did 25 years ago. So I also found this box of ornaments. I thought they were pretty interesting. We can do something with them. I really liked the top of them. These were 50% off. They were red tag day, so those were $2. And then I went and got the clear bulbs from Walmart. They are cheaper than Dollar Tree. They're pretty large, and they were 6 for like $6.27. Then I bought 2 of the, the Christmas light balls, right? I don't know. From Dollar Tree, got 2 of those. Those are $1.50 this year. And then we've got some styrofoam, and I save everything. So I have this little piece of foam that I'm gonna try to stick the ornaments on and see how that works. just to keep them stable. So yeah, we're gonna go out back and do that. And I have right now, I've got some black semi-gloss paint. I've got a gloss black. I also have a dark Kona brown, metallic silver, and a metallic gold. I may grab my flat black, but I think that'll cover it. I might grab my bronze as well. So we'll see what happens when we get going with the project, and I'll let you know once we get out there. All right, see you in the backyard. Okay, so I just want to show you my setup before I start. I've got my paints ready, the ones I think I might use, and I'll let you know which ones I do use. And then I've separated the bulbs into like 3 groupings, and I'll move them around just so I can start the base coat with different colors. So one I'll start with a brown, one I'll start with a black, and then maybe one with a gold. So we'll see how that goes. And also those homemade ornaments that I had, they didn't have a place for a skewer. So I ended up just having to set them on the foam. Just, you know, hopefully those will work out okay, but we'll see what happens. So here we go. So I did end up grabbing my champagne gold, bronze, and copper paint. And the whole process is to start out spraying your desired base coat. And once they're dry, we'll take 2 different water bottles that have different types of sprayers and spray the ornaments. And while they're wet, we'll hit the ornaments again with a complementary color. You're basically distressing them with this technique. I'm speeding up the process for you, but it's just about layering the paint and water until you're happy with the way it looks. And it's all personal preference. In the end, I like the ones that I sprayed a lot of water on the best. You might like it with less water. It's trial and error, and you can't make a mistake. Just have fun with it. And to finish off the tops, the shiny silver no longer worked with the ornaments. So I used my rub and buff in this color Spanish copper, and somehow I don't have footage of that. But the color was a perfect fit for the now rustic ornaments, and I'll make sure to link that color below. And here they are. I just love how rustic and elegant they turned out. Each one has its own texture and personality, and together they look like something you'd find in a high-end boutique. I placed mine in a dough bowl, and I think they make such a beautiful gift-worthy display. Simple, timeless, and full of that cozy vintage charm. They'd look stunning on a tree, in a centerpiece, or even as part of a holiday tablescape. Honestly, it's hard to believe these started out as basic plastic ornaments. Now this DIY was inspired by William Sonoma flocked wreath that retails for $120. So when I spotted this one at the thrift store for just $3, I knew I could breathe new life into it, or at least I hoped I could. The ornaments were very faded and not my style, and the flocking was yellow and some areas brown. The first thing I needed to do was to remove the ornaments, which was a little tricky. Whoever put these on really didn't want them going anywhere. Once that was done, it was time to give it a paint refresh. I didn't want to spray paint it because I was worried it would get too matted and lose the natural texture. So instead, I mixed some white acrylic paint with water and started brushing it on. But pretty quickly, I realized that brushing wasn't working too well. So I just used my hands, and honestly, I don't mind getting a little messy when crafting. It actually took me back to my finger painting days, which I hadn't thought about in years. Now, once the entire wreath was fully coated and really saturated with paint, I let it dry overnight. The next morning, I fluffed and reshaped it, and it already looks so much better. The important thing was to make sure that all of the branches were going in the same direction, like the inspiration. And I'll be adding some solar-powered fairy lights when I decorate it outside for the holidays. I just haven't figured out the best spot for the little solar panel. But I love the idea of not having to remember to turn them on. I'll link the lights in the description box if you want to check them out. And here it is, all styled. I'm so happy with the way it turned out. This ended up being super easy and was well worth the $3 and a little paint. So if you have a tired wreath, maybe give it another look. Now let's talk about some repurposing. While I was at the Dollar Tree, I spotted these bathroom and laundry room signs and instantly thought these would make the cutest Christmas card holders. You could decoupage some decorative tissue paper on the sign if you don't have a vinyl machine or not a painter. You could even use this thrifted scarf hanger for the same idea. Just clip a few cards with mini clothespins and add some Christmas picks for greenery at the top to conceal the hanger. I could even see this reworked into an advent calendar. Another find I came across I actually picked up was this teak utensil holder by Crate & Barrel for $3. It retails for $33, and I plan on using it as a base for one of my small Christmas trees. But then I spotted these Christmas placemats for $1.99. I didn't see placemats though. I saw a rustic pillow just waiting to happen. And I thought the fringe was perfect. The only problem, they were stained. But ever since I started using Lest Oil, there hasn't been a stain I couldn't get out. It's amazing stuff. So as soon as I got home, I doused them with some Lest Oil, let them sit for a couple of hours, then tossed them in the washer. Every single stain came out. Now I don't sew, so I'm going to use the hot glue method to seal the edges, quick and easy. And because these placemats have fringe, I'm not going to glue them right side together and flip them like you would with fabric that has no edge. So I made sure to have plenty of glue ready, and these little clamps that you get from the Dollar Tree really came in handy. Just make sure that the fringe doesn't get caught up in the glue. That's the only tricky part. Gluing the entire pillow probably took me about 10 minutes. It was a very fast process, and for the stuffing, I'm using the filling from a pillow my dog chewed up when she was a puppy. Just making sure to get the corners. I then glued the last 2 corners at the end so that I could fill them properly. And then it was easy to close up. It's such an affordable, simple DIY, and I love that it gives something old new life. And here it is on my couch. Albeit a little early, I'll tuck it away for later. I'm so happy with the way this one turned out. Do you have some placemats you can repurpose? This next DIY inspiration comes from these beautiful white birds I've been seeing online. So when I spotted these little animal planters in the floral section at Dollar Tree, I knew the Cardinals would work. And I needed a couple of small gifts for the holidays, so these were perfect. But of course, we needed to take them up a notch. Now these come in a few styles, a penguin, a polar bear, and I think a walrus or a seal, and of course the cardinal. They were only $1.75, and the transformation couldn't be easier. I would have left the cardinal as is, but the red color was a little off, and the face just wasn't my favorite. So a quick coat of flat white spray paint fixed all of that. And just an FYI, the paint did reveal a couple of minor cracks in one of the cardinals, so if you decide to do this craft, make sure you check yours before you leave the store. Now for the plant. Because they are so small, it's not going to take much, just a pick or two. So I cut some floral foam to fit. I like using a serrated knife for that, and then I hot glued it in place. I had these picks left over from previous years and just started adding until I was happy. And just like that, I have 2 super sweet gifts for a few dollars. I think they turned out really cute, and no one would ever know they are from the Dollar Tree. This no DIY where no glue or paint is required was inspired by so many beautiful candlesticks I've been seeing at every high-end retailer. And the holidays are the perfect time to display tapered candles. Honestly, we don't really use them much throughout the year. Jar candles just feel easier and less formal, but this is the season when that little bit of elegance feels extra special. And here are just a few I've collected over the past year from either the Dollar Tree or thrift stores, very inexpensively. What I love about tapered candles is that they aren't just for the dining room table or mantle. You can style them on a buffet, a sideboard, an entryway, or even grouped on a coffee table. I love little vignettes of 3, or go big and create a full display. They look amazing on a silver tray too. You can add embellishments like pearls, greenery, or ribbon, and I love tucking them into hurricane vases for a cozy glow. Candlelight adds that perfect, elegant, yet warm touch. It's very easy to forget how impactful something this simple can be, especially when we're caught up in elaborate holiday setups. And this is one of the most inexpensive ways to make your space feel instantly elevated. And this was supposed to be a true no DIY, inspired by these gorgeous Anthropologie pearl bow candle holders. But when I tried to attach the bows, they wouldn't stay put. So yes, I gave in and used a tiny dot of hot glue for each bow. Technically a low DIY, but totally worth it. So you'll take the smallest pearl trim you can find and tie it into a bow and add a dot of hot glue. And the smallest one works the best at making a bow. Once you have 2 bows, just glue them together and attach to the candlestick. You can add a pearl or a rhinestone for extra embellishment, but I felt mine didn't need it. This is such an easy way to bring Anthropologie charm into your home without the price tag. It's an effortless kind of craft that feels special without taking over your whole afternoon, and I think it's a pretty good dupe. This next DIY is inspired by all those beautiful white ceramic houses and tea light displays you see at high-end retailers. That timeless, neutral Christmas look that's been popular for the past few years and just never seems to go out of style. And Dollar Tree has carried these little gingerbread tea light houses for several years now. And while they're cute, the bright colors and uneven paint can make them feel a little, well, less high-end. But just a simple coat of white spray paint completely transforms them. And here's how they turned out. I love how fresh and elevated they now look. And this DIY was inspired by the flickering flameless glitter ornament candle from Pottery Barn, but those will set you back $268, and that is just not in my budget. So when I saw this round vase from Goodwill for $2.99 and then spotted this round Christmas jar and a cup from the Dollar Tree, I knew we could get a similar look. I also had these lids with holes in them from a couple of old Dollar Tree jars, and they fit the LED flame from their tea lights perfectly, but it would be very easy to drill a hole in the other jar lids to make the ornament top if you need to. And you can also use a fishbowl if you can't find what I found. Plus, Amazon has some round vases you could use, and I'll make sure to link one below. And so the first thing I needed to do was to spray all 3 pieces with a coat of champagne bronze spray paint by Rust-Oleum. The gold metallic might get you a little closer to the Pottery Barn color, but I didn't have that on hand, so I used what I had. Once all 3 pieces were dry, it was time to add the gold glitter spray paint, and I'll leave all the supplies that I use in this video in the description box below. So with this particular spray paint, you'll want to spray in spurts to distribute the glitter. I have to tell you, it was really satisfying to see the pieces start to sparkle. Now it was time to bring them in and add the finishing touch, the tea lights. You could use E6000, but I decided to use hot glue in case I wanted to take them apart at some point. And I just want to talk about the glitter paint for a minute. It did come off in my hands at first, so I thought I was going to have to give them a coat of sealer. But once they cured, there was very little shedding. So all in all, it turned out to be a great product. It was my first time using it, so I really didn't know what to expect. And here they are styled. I think they turned out beautiful. The most expensive supply was the gold glitter spray paint, and I have a lot left in the can for other projects. So I'd say for under $15, we achieved a beautiful look. This next DIY was inspired by all the framed tree art I have been seeing everywhere, from Target to Magnolia to Kirkland's. So when I spotted these Christmas tree gift boxes at Dollar Tree, I knew they'd be perfect for a no DIY. No paint, no glue, just quick and beautiful. Dollar Tree also has these frames with green trim, and I thought they'd make the perfect pair. They even had the boxes in a larger size, so you can totally scale this up if you want to make a bigger statement piece. Oh, and don't toss the bottom of that box. I'll be using it in my upcoming gift and gift wrapping video, and you'll definitely want to hang on to it for that. This DIY was so easy and satisfying because it came together so fast. Once I decided what part of the image I wanted to frame, all I had to do was trace the glass and cut it out. And just like that, we have a gorgeous framed Christmas tree for under $2. And I say $2 because I have 2.5 boxes left. Oh, and speaking of my upcoming gift and wrapping video, I wanted to show you a few things I picked up for that. So if you want to craft along with me, you can grab them too. I'll be turning these 3 items into the cutest little gift card holders, so stay tuned for that. The next DIY was inspired by the gorgeous antique brass hurricane candle holders from Pottery Barn and Ralph Lauren. Now, Ralph Lauren's version is a whopping $595 each, and even Pottery Barns are $59 each, so I thought we can definitely make our own. Dollar Tree has all the pieces you need: 4 glass tapered candle holders, 2 of the regular ones with the nice bases, and 2 smaller ones that fit perfectly into the hurricane vases. And the total cost for the pair of these candle holders is $8.75, which is already such a steal. All they needed was a little spray paint makeover. I started with a gold metallic spray paint, but I didn't love it. The color just wasn't sitting right with me. Then I tried mixing some paint with Rub and Buff. Still not it. So back to the backyard I went with my old faithful champagne bronze, and finally now I felt like Goldilocks. It was just right. Once you've got your color you love, glue the candle holder with the base to your hurricane base using E6000. I'm waiting to glue mine until I'm ready to use them, so they're easier to store for now. Then all that's left is to add your candles. I found these on clearance at Target for just 90 cents, but they were still a little too tall for the hurricane, so I trimmed them down. You could also just let them burn a little bit, but I was impatient. And here's how they look on my mantle. I absolutely love them. They look so elegant, and they'll be perfect for my Christmas table or any future table setting. So simple, so chic, and definitely budget friendly. This next DIY was inspired by these little reindeer shelf sitters that Dollar Tree brings out every year. When I spotted them this season, I immediately thought of a project that Sarah Jane from Chic on the Cheap made a few years back. She doesn't do DIY content anymore, so I thought it would be fun to bring this one back with my own twist. The first thing is to paint your reindeer. You could use acrylic paint, but I went with my trusty white spray paint for a smoother finish. Once they were dry, it was time to add a little embellishment around their necks. Last time I made this, I used baker's twine, which looked cute, but this time I wanted to add a touch of greenery. I actually pulled this little piece from another ornament and attached it with hot glue. Then, using a bit of school glue, wood glue works too, I glued the reindeer together by their bases to form the napkin holder shape. And just like that, it's done. A simple festive reindeer napkin holder that you can keep out all season long or add to your holiday tablescape. It's fun, quick, and such a sweet nod to an old favorite. Thanks, Sarah, for the original inspiration. The next DIY was inspired by the 3.5-foot lit Christmas tree I picked up this year at Dollar Tree for my patio. Now, when I picked it up, there was no price, and if you didn't know, the Dollar Tree app has a scanner on it. I find it super helpful for those stores that don't have them. And since I'm putting the tree on my patio, I didn't really want to add ornaments. I thought the lights were enough, but I still feel like it needed to add a little topper. And I spotted this one at the Dollar Tree, and I knew I could make it, well, a little less shiny. And I wanted to try the flocking technique with spray paint. So I carefully pried the star apart and took it outside. But I made sure to have all my supplies, which is spray paint and baking soda. The paint dries fast, so you need to work quickly. I sprayed the inside first, just to get rid of the gold color, then flipped them over, and once they dried, I did the outside, spraying half of the star and covering it with baking soda before moving on to the other half. And once they were dry, I took only about an hour. I carefully started brushing off the baking soda, and voila, we were done. Quick and easy. It looks way more high-end than its previous state. I don't have my tree up yet, but I'm looking forward to adding the star when I do. This next DIY was inspired by those adorable pom-pom trees from Creighton Kids. But the great thing about this project is you can make it totally your own. I've made versions as gifts, themed for whatever the person collects or decorates with, like all one color, all bows, snowmen, or even gnomes. Since I already had the small Dollar Tree Christmas tree, a pack of the garland ties, fairy lights, and push pins, all I needed to pick up was an extra pack of the push pins and this bottle gift bag with a little Santa hat on it. And this one came together super easy. The pom-poms popped right off the tacks, and for the ones that didn't, I just trimmed them off. I used some gold and white twine from my stash to make the hanger like the inspiration piece. It only took me about 10 minutes to do them all. Before adding the pom-poms, I wrapped the tree with fairy lights. I got these on Amazon, super affordable, 6 for around $5, and they come with the batteries. Then I added the pom-poms and finished it off with a Santa hat. I even cut up the gift bag to use as the tree skirt and saved the little belt and buckle because you never know when that might come in handy. And there you have it, the $99 version for $7. I think it comes pretty close. What do you think? This DIY was inspired by Crate & Barrel Antique Verdigris Reindeer. While that aged patina look isn't for everyone, you can easily customize it. I went for more of an antique brass finish, where their version leans copper and bronze. I'm using two Dollar Tree reindeer, one of the acrylic shelf sitters, those are usually hard to find, and the more common glittered ornament that feels a bit like fabric. First, I gave both a coat of black paint. You could actually stop here, they already look elegant, but I wanted to add more depth. Once dry, I realized the ornament style reindeer didn't stand on its own, so I added small wood slice bases. I stained them with Waverly Dark Wax and set them aside to glue on later. For the antique brass effect, I mixed a little milk chocolate and Java chalk paint with some antique gold leaf rub and buff. That combo tones down the gold and makes it look more like brass. On the acrylic deer, I dabbed and wiped with a sponge, leaving some black showing through. On the fabric textured one, I used more of a wiping motion because it soaked in differently. Next came my favorite part, the verdigris layer. I mixed some different greens and turquoise paint together until I liked the tone. I started dabbing with a sponge, but I felt it was going on too heavy, so I grabbed one piece of damp paper towel and one dry piece. I felt like this gave me more control and subtle aging. I wiped and dabbed until I was happy. On camera, it looks a touch more green than in person, but I love how they turned out. Once everything dried, I glued them to their bases, and that's it. And here's the final look. 2 high-end Crate & Barrel inspired reindeer for just a few dollars. If you love them too, let me know in the comments. You might just get an early Christmas present. Now let's move on to the next DIY. This one might just be my favorite transformation yet. This next DIY was inspired by the flocked ornaments I've been seeing everywhere, and they can get really pricey. But with a little know-how, you can take old ornaments you were ready to toss and turn them into trendy, high-end ones for just pennies. And the best part, it's so easy. First, grabbed a few of my old ornaments and attached them to the wood skewers I saved from my last DIY. Perfect for painting. I gave them a quick coat of gray primer, but you can use whatever you have. The goal is to prep the surface so the paint sticks easier without multiple coats. Once they were dry, it was time to give them a coat of paint. I had 2 colors ready for this batch, a dark brown and a tan. So you will paint an ornament and then while it's wet, pour or spoon on baking soda. I used an old container to catch the remaining baking soda so I could reuse it on the next one. You want to make sure the ornament is very well covered. Then you tap off the excess, but very gently. Once they were all painted and coated with baking soda, I allowed them to dry for about 4 hours. Then it was time for the magic. Using a soft paintbrush or even a makeup brush, I started brushing away the baking soda. And look at this. They turned out so good. I'm honestly in awe. You'd never know these weren't designer ornaments. I can't believe how well this worked. I'm actually probably going to be flocking everything now. And just a last couple of quick steps. I added the hooks back and then I painted them with some leftover rub and buff and paint from the previous DIY. And for the hanger, I used suede cord I had in my stash. It's super inexpensive and you get tons. I've got mine off of Amazon and I'll make sure to link it below. And look how beautiful, no matter how you style them. Simple, modern, and so high-end on a budget. They are so versatile and really fit any decor. These would make wonderful gifts too. Is this one you're going to try? I honestly can't wait to make another batch in different colors. And next up, another fast, elegant DIY you can make with just a few Dollar Tree supplies. This next DIY was inspired by a strawberry candy ornament I spotted on the Magnolia website. So when I spotted this candy-shaped ice cube tray at Dollar Tree, I knew we could make our own version, a classic peppermint candy perfect for Christmas. The supply list is simple: the Dollar Tree candy mold, hot glue, and red and white paint. I added a little glitter, totally optional, but it adds that festive sparkle. Start by filling your mold all the way to the top with hot glue. Give it a few gentle taps and release all the air bubbles. I even tried a couple of the candy cane shapes just to see how they'd turn out. Once the glue cools, it only takes about 15 minutes. Start peeling away the mold and you will have perfectly shaped peppermints and candy canes. The candy canes did have one solid area that was tricky to paint, so if you have a creative idea for that spot, definitely let me know in the comments. Next, I gave the peppermints a quick coat of white spray paint. You could use acrylic paint instead. I just wanted something quick and easy. Once dry, I went in with red stripes, let it set for about 30 minutes, then brushed on a little Mod Podge and a little sprinkle of glitter. For hanging, I added a tiny eye hook from the Dollar Tree picture frame kit sold in the hardware section, then tied on red and white baker's twine to finish them off. And look how cute and whimsical these ornaments turned out. They add such a fun pop of red and white on the tree. Classic Christmas, but still modern, and I love how versatile they are. You can hang them on gifts, add them to garlands, or even fill a glass jar for a festive candy display. They're simple, sweet, and so nostalgic. Exactly what the holidays should feel like. This no DIY where no glue or paint is required was inspired by the Crate & Barrel faux berry stems. I love how they styled them in a simple white vase. So clean and so elegant. And Dollar Tree actually sells a very similar vase in their floral section. The Crate & Barrel stems are stunning, but not for $30 a stem. What I really loved about their version was the simplicity. No leaves, just red berries on brown branches in crisp white vase. The colors play off each other so beautifully. So when I received a $5 reward vouchers from Michaels, I'm still not sure why, but I paid to sign up for those programs. I decided to see what they had, and I found these berry stems for $1.19 each. I grabbed 5, and with my voucher, the entire arrangement only cost me 94 cents because I already had the vase in my stash. I know, girl math. All I needed to do was add some floral foam to the vase and start arranging the stems. It took about 5 minutes and this project was done. And look at this. Such a high-end, effortless look for under $1. You'd never guess the arrangement cost less than a single Crate & Barrel stem. Simple, classic, and so festive. Proof that sometimes the easiest projects makes the biggest statement. This next DIY was inspired by the Crate & Barrel antique brass reindeer ornament. It's such a simple yet elegant piece, and it instantly caught my eye. But instead of spending $40 per ornament, I used the Dollar Tree reindeer, the plastic ones covered in glitter that feel like fabric. They actually have the perfect shape. They just need a little makeover. First, I gave each one a coat of black chalk paint, and because of the material, it dried really quickly, which is perfect for a fast transformation. Then I played around with a few colors, trying to get the aged antique brass finish to match my aesthetic. The winner, Enamel Gold by Folk Art, and I'll leave it linked in the description box below. I brushed it on lightly, letting just enough black peek through to create depth and that true metal look. And here they are on my little tree. I can't believe these once had glitter all over them. The transformation is crazy. They look elegant, classic, and so high-end for just a couple of dollars. Honestly, I'm obsessed. They might be one of my favorite DIYs this season. The next DIY was actually inspired by a TikTok I came across, but of course, I had to take it up a notch, and Dollar Tree has similar versions right now for $7, but we're going to recreate it for just $1.50 using one of their large ornaments. To start, I hot glued 2 mini square pieces of floral foam on each side of the hanger. Then it was time for the fun part, adding the florals. I used a couple of floral picks from my stash and just cut them apart, then hot glued each piece for a secure hold and more dimension. I just kept adding until I was happy with the result. And look how gorgeous these turned out. They look so high-end, honestly like something you find at Neiman's or Bloomingdale's, not made from a $1.50 ornament. You'd never guess they started at Dollar Tree. Packaged right, they make such a beautiful gift, perfect for a hostess or those holiday exchanges. Simply, thoughtful, and totally custom. And we're not done yet. The next one might be my most unexpected transformation. So this next DIY actually came to me while I was in the Dollar Tree. I spotted a pair of these little tree ornaments for $1.50, and while most people see trees, I saw antlers. Turned them upside down, and suddenly I knew exactly what to do with them. A reindeer ornament using one of the larger Dollar Tree ornament balls, just like the previous DIY. And of course, I had to add a little whimsy with a red nose. I already had a jingle bell and some googly eyes in my stash, but you could totally skip the face and keep it simple if that fits your style better. To start, I glued on 2 mini squares of floral foam, same as before, and then attached the tree ornaments as antlers. Once those were secure, I used some leftover greenery and floral pieces to cover the foam and add texture around the antlers. You could stop right there and have a really cute rustic reindeer, but I couldn't resist going full Rudolph. So I glued on the eyes and added a jingle bell red nose, and just like that, it came to life, kind of like Frosty. I love how whimsical and unexpected this one is. A playful twist that still feels high-end. It would make such a fun gift for the Rudolph lover in your life. I know because I have one, and he's getting this tied with a red bow. And for a more neutral, rustic look, here's how it looks without the face. Simple, timeless, and honestly just as beautiful. It's amazing how changing one small detail completely shifts the vibe. The next DIY was inspired by Dollar Tree's new beaded garland. You know, the one with a mix of natural white and red beads. I fell in love with it the second I saw it and grabbed a few strands before they disappeared. And then when I spotted the foam cone forms, it clicked. I had to make a beaded Christmas tree. To start, I added a small dab of hot glue at the bottom and began wrapping the garland around the cone, working my way up. You really don't need much glue, just enough to keep it secure as you go. When I reached the top, I trimmed the strand and filled in the last few spots by gluing on individual beads to finish that clean, polished look. Now for the topper. I couldn't decide at first, but in the end, I reused one of my velvet bows from a previous DIY. It was the perfect topper. And then just one last detail and we were done. The tree needed a trunk. So I pulled out this chunky wood slice I had in my stash, and with some hot glue, this completed the project. And just like that, a gorgeous high-end looking beaded tree that can blend seamlessly into any decor style. Rustic, traditional, modern, it just works. And that's it for today. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next Saturday.